Welcome to FineScale Modeler at the Workbench. I'm Tim Kidwell. Now, I think a lot of times when we do these videos, you guys, we show you the process that we go through from beginning to end. A lot of the, shall we say, the rough edges, they end up on the cutting room floor, right? And we don't really talk about the experimentation side of modeling, I think, enough. Or at least for us, we don't talk to you about us trying some things out, seeing if they work for us or if they don't work. Now, I want to talk about using cork to make a cobblestone street. Most of you know, or maybe most of you don't. I don't know. I mean, if you're new, you're going to be introduced to the fact that I am building an AMT Ertl 1/20th scale Budweiser Clydesdale 8-horse hitch, which means that it's a wagon, a Budweiser wagon with crates of beer in the back, and then 8 Clydesdale horses out front. And what comes with that old kit is a 3-foot long base. And yes, it is 3 feet long. We measured it. It be 3 feet long. So, Aaron accidentally pushed a stool, but it sounded like it farted. It's like a little toot. Burp. And just put up the UHF bars. I'm not going back. I'm not reshooting anything. You guys sift through that and see what we can get out of it. Leave some funny stuff in. I don't care. Let's give them a clean take though in a second. So I'm coughing. So there's cobblestone texture in the top of it, and I was very close to saying, you know what? It's fine. I'm just going to do this model the way that it came out of the box, and that's going to be fine. And the more I got looking at it as I was working on the horses, the more I thought, I can't leave this alone. So started sort of brainstorming, what are some options that I've got? And I went to the pet store and I was looking at some fine aquarium stone, and I thought, well, maybe I can recreate the cobblestones that way. And I decided against it. Talked to a few people. I got thinking, you know what? Why not cork? I can do cork pavers along the entire thing. Our friends and colleagues down at Model Railroader, they use cork all the time for a number of different things. And we have contributors who have written stories for us over the years who have used cork to do bear with me in this video. I've got a nagging cough, so every once in a while the video might go, I'll be here and then I'll be over here, and it's because I've gone into a coughing fit and need to get through that. You can probably hear it. I'm sort of nasally. Anyway, we have contributors to FSM who have used cork for a number of different things, including brick walls. I thought, you know what? This is the chance to give this a try because I really haven't worked with cork before. Not in any extensive way. So I had some cork sheet, laid these things out on the base. Like, okay, I'm gonna need 3 and part of a 4th. That's great. How big are pavers? I could have Googled that, but that's no fun. So nearby where I live is a 150-year-old street that still has brick pavers. So I went down and I measured those pavers, and you can see that they're 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches. And so I divided those by 20, and through some maths and some fudging, I came up with 7/16 by 3/16 of an inch for the dimensions for my bricks. Now I needed to cut them out of the cork. How to do that? I'm at home, I'm at the workbench, and what I want is a jig. I want something that's going to make it easy for me to cut the cork into strips at 3/16 of an inch wide and do that efficiently. But I don't want to spend a lot of time doing up some super hard jig thing, right? Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, in the FSM workshop, we had this little handy dandy tool, which is an actual cork cutter from Masterpiece Models. Now, I think we got this in the magazine back in 2015, into the workshop back in 2015, something like that. Anyway, what's cool about it is right here, right, is it brick. Got a little marking for brick. Curbstone, cobblestone, sidewalk, all for 1/35 scale, it looks like. But on this other side, it's got hash marks for 1/16 of an inch. A little marker there, and it's adjustable. However, this was in the FSM workshop. In fact, I don't think, none of us knew that we still had it in there. Aaron stumbled across it one day. He's like, oh, well, this would have been useful. Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that later. What we're gonna do now, though, is, well, what did I have on hand? I needed a fence, something that I could put the cork board up against, right, and hold it flat. So I'm looking around the workshop and I see this, which is the base for what my alligator clips on sticks that I hold parts for painting with, right? So I have this. If I slap that up against the edge of my cutting mat, well, I've got a fence now. And I can put the cork right up against it. All right, that works. Now I need a spacer, something that I can cut along where I'm going to get that 3/16 of an inch. It just so happens that I'm working on a wooden ship right now, and I have a 3/16 square length of lumber, dimensional lumber, handy at the workbench. Oh, okay. Well, I can put that right up against my fence over the top of my cork, and now I've got a pretty easy makeshift jig to do some slicing with. Let's just do some slicing. Look at that. I've got a strip of cork at 3/16 of an inch wide. Do it again. Now, cork is, what I found out, cork is a squishy thing. It tends to move. It's a bit malleable. So just do the best that you can, right? That's all I can do. Do the best that I can, get it up there, flat up against the fence. Put my spacer in there, and then the other thing that I did, which, you know, goes just back to basic modeling, is don't try to make the full cut on the first pass. Do a couple of passes. That way you keep deformation to a minimum. And look at that. We've got 2 strips now. Nice. It wasn't long before I had a bunch of strips to work with. Now, before we move too much further along, let's bring back the Masterpiece Models cork cutter. Again, I've never used this before, so this is gonna be like first time right now on camera. I have it already set to 3/16 of an inch wide. I have a number 11 blade in there, brand new, nice and sharp. I think what I'm gonna do, instead of trying to pass the cork under the blade, I'm going to move the cutter along the cork and see where we get. Well, all right. Now, that might be user error because, yeah, So, right away, that's not fun. Look, I've broken my cork. It's like, I don't even know what that means. What could that possibly mean? I don't know. All right, so I think what the problem is that maybe this is too straight up and down. When I'm doing it with the knife, I'm more of an angle like that. So let's try adjusting the angle of this thing. I can use a screwdriver, guys, so just, bear with me. So if I adjust this to do maybe something like that, angle-wise, maybe that'll be better. Something like that. What do you think? I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Okay, so again, just right along the edge there. Let's see how this goes. Okay, it is tearing my cork. And I'm wondering if maybe the using it with cork like this is too thin, although, it's supposed to be the cork cutter. Maybe if I pass it through, maybe I hold this steady and no. Let's try coming into the center of it. I think part of this is, like I had said, don't try to do the entire cut all at once. This is going to try to do the entire cut all at once. So if we come into the center, yeah, see, I don't particularly like that idea, but let's see. All right. Oop, oop. Yeah, it's definitely, here we go, here we go, here we go. All right, so coming into the center seems to alleviate some of the problem, but obviously, going, so I can extend the cut to that point, and I'll just finish this with the knife for the time being. So, I mean, it does work, and it was much easier coming into the center of it, but I don't know. You know what? It's the first time I've used it. I'm gonna have to think on it a little bit. If you guys have ever used one of these, let me know, and let me know what your experience is with something like this. This might be a tooling around thing that I might bring back up later on in a FineScale Modeler Weekly. We'll think on that. For the time being, off to the side it goes. And I blame Aaron for it not working as well as it should. At least right now.
Excuse me?
You heard me. You take the blame. Okay, we're moving on.
Do you like what you see here and want more? Subscribe to FineScale Modeler magazine. You'll get 6 issues a year crammed with how-to stories from some of the best modelers around the world. Go to finescale.com/YouTube for a special offer for YouTube viewers like you.
While Aaron shakes off the sting of his guilt, I'm thinking, all right, I need to get these things to 7/16 of an inch. How to do that consistently? I need another jig. Except, I already have something, a tool, that's gonna allow me to do this right away. You know what that tool is? You guys, come on now. It is the Chopper 3. Those of you who are not familiar with the Northwest Shortline Chopper 3, I've talked about this tool in other videos in the past. I love it. It's super useful. But what it allows you to do is cut strips, right? Plastic strips, wood strips, cork strips to a certain length. It's got a razor blade right here on a little handle that goes up and down, and you just chop things. I measured from the razor blade to this little fence here, 7/16 of an inch. And then what I was able to do is just start making bricks. There's a couple of things about the chopper that you need to know. First, this is a razor blade, so it's sharp. Do not stick your finger underneath that razor blade. Don't. You're asking to get cut, so don't do that. Once you get into a rhythm, that's fine, but remember, cork is squishy. It's spongy. This is something I've found out. So sometimes, even though the blade goes all the way through, rather than cutting, it may just squish that last little bit of cork. And so it's actually sticking, right? Okay, not a problem. You just go in with your knife and you can separate it. And nicely done. There are those times where it'll go ahead and it'll cut it right away. Not a problem, as you see there. But it stays on this side of the blade. You just want to take your knife and kick it out from under there. Do not stick your finger under the razor blade. I know from experience that no matter how many times I tell you guys not to do, somebody's doing it right now. Right now, somebody's doing that. That's not my fault. That's all on you or Aaron. It is, don't put your finger under the blade. Anyway, so I'm at my workbench, and guess what? I'm now making bricks. Oh, that one again. Boop. And it wasn't too long before I had a bunch of bricks. Now, I'm gonna just stop right here and tell you a little bit about what happened to me at the workbench. So I cut my bricks and I went to the base and I started gluing them down. And I got the first 2 courses of bricks down. And I'm looking at them, and what I was finding is that they were too perfectly matched. I just was not getting the kind of distinction between the bricks that I wanted to see. I thought, okay, well maybe I can go in with a small file and just file the edges while they're on the base, and that'll give me just a little bit of definition. Or that didn't work particularly well. I went over it with a ruler, those courses with a ruler and a pencil, just to see if I could squish them down a little bit. And then I even went through with a sculpting tool just to see if I could get them to squish down. And as we discussed earlier, cork is spongy, so it would just keep springing back. I mean, I did start to get a little bit more definition, but not what I wanted to see. So I stopped before I put any more courses down. I was just like, well, what can I do? And I decided, you know, probably the quickest course of action, at least for me and what I thought of at the time, was to take a brick, and I went and I got a 280 grit sanding pad and just sand those edges. And what I found is that for me, with the pressure that I use, at about a 45-degree angle, 6 passes is all I needed to do. So I dumped my bowl of bricks out and got to work. What I did know at this point though was that for me, each course was 10 bricks long. So I would just do a couple of courses at a time. I would just do 10 bricks and then I would glue them down. But yeah, is it hard? No. But it is a little bit time consuming. On the other hand, you just kind of put your brain in neutral and you just get it done. And I gotta tell you, I really kind of started liking this process. I'm not saying it's right, but I did like it. Anyway, so here's the base back with the courses that I've already put down, including the slicing, the cutting, figuring stuff out, and then the process of putting these courses down. This amount of work has taken me, give or take, about 4 hours. So it's not just speeding right along, but it's coming along. And I'm actually, as I just said, I'm enjoying this process, which is, you know, a big deal when you're doing these hobby projects. I'm enjoying this process, and I'm really liking how it's turning out. Remember, I've beveled the sides of the tops of these bricks, so I need to make sure that I'm using the tops of these bricks. So I'm being careful not to get them confused. Something that I did find out, remember I said that I'm still sort of shaking off a cold cough. I coughed a couple of times at the workbench at home and sent my bricks flying, and that's, you know, they're very light. So any breeze, any heavy breathing, you might blow them away, so be careful with that. So I'm just using super glue to glue my bricks down, tweezers, glue looper. So here we go. We're just gonna start gluing. Afterward, once these courses are dry, I come back through with the knife and just slice the paver at the edge that's sticking off the edge there so that it's close to even with the edge of the base. Doesn't need to be perfect, because what I can do then is I'm going to come back through with a sanding stick or a sanding pad, and I'll just smooth all those up. But at least it's not sticking out there super far where I'm gonna catch it with my hand or whatever. And I did like 3 courses where we kind of had that sawtooth look, and then just came through and then sliced them off. That's where I'm at currently with this base. You know, I think earlier you can see from, I showed you that photo, right, earlier, and here it is again. And you can see in there, in that street, there's this sort of herringbone pattern that they did. I think I might do that in a couple of spots on here. I might even add a couple of manhole covers or a couple of drain grates or something along those lines, just to give it a little bit more interest as I'm going along. But for me, the most important part right now is sort of sharing this with you, that this is an experiment on my part, and I'm still considering what the next step is, how I'm going to finish this. I'm talking with the guys down at Model Railroader. They've given me a few ideas, and what I'm going to do is once I'm done with this, putting the cork down, I'll check back in with you and I'll show you what I do for the next step. But I want to let you know what I'm working on at the workbench right now. Thanks for watching. I'm Tim Kidwell. I'll see you next time.